to Conscious Matters. It's a safe space where we chat about how living consciously matters to our well being, to the one of our surroundings and loved ones, as well as to the earth and humanity as a whole. Join me, Melissa DeBerry, for inspiring interviews with some of the most beautiful souls out there, individuals who are helping others to reach their highest selves and who bring light into this world. In every episode, we talk about conscious matters such as self-love, awareness, personal development, the power of yoga and meditation, self-medicine, the rise of holistic practices, and much more. We expand on our experiences, share tools that help live in peace, harmony, and alignment on a daily basis, and discuss about what we've learned along our healing journey. Get your mind, body, and soul ready for a ride in consciousness. Namaste, listeners.
Don't think about making more art. Just get it done. Let everybody else decide if it's good or bad, whether they like it or hate it. While they are deciding, make even more art. That's a quote from Andy Warhol, artist extraordinaire. We often exclusively associate creativity with artistic talents, which would mean that only creative people out there would be musicians, composers, dancers, etc. Even though in a distant past I subscribed to this idea, I absolutely refute it today. We use creativity every single day in any kind of field or even daily task. If you're cooking a delicious dish without a cookbook recipe with the last ingredients left in your kitchen, you are most probably being creative. Or the way you tackle an issue at work or the way you run your business requires of you to think outside the box. People are born creative. Think about children with their imaginary friends, play, and stories. Creating is our natural state of mind as beings in this world. I am one of those people who believe that if you have a vision, make it happen. Use what you have and create something. It might fail, but at least try, even though it's not as easy as it sounds. Indeed, socialization and formal education make us lose our creative impulse over time. In public schools, art class is not taken seriously. You have to be good at math and physics instead. If there are budget cuts, you can be sure that anything remotely close to art will be cancelled. An analytic approach in the way we function as a society is much more acclaimed from a very young age to the end of your professional career. So how do you push down a natural feeling? How do you express a natural ability when it has been taught to you to repress it because you won't be taken seriously otherwise? Taking this step towards being more creative is scary, but so rewarding too. We have this great opportunity to live in an era in which it's incredibly easy to share our craft online and to find like-minded people who would appreciate it. Also, with internet, our source of inspiration can come from literally anywhere in the world and from any field. Today, I have the great pleasure to exchange on creativity with Evelyn Gigi, also known as Evelyn from the Internets on the web. She's a multi-talented creator. I'm using this broad term because this woman is doing it all when it comes to creation. She's a writer, storyteller, speaker, filmmaker, actor, award winner, content creator, show host, and the list continues on. She's not afraid to keep on creating and show her content in front of her audience online, or maybe she's afraid, but she keeps on showing up, mixing her imagination with hard work. That's what we're talking about today, using creativity to gain self-awareness and confidence. Listen up to the jam.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I'm so happy. Like you have like no idea too. It's like I've been following your videos for like, I don't know, 6, 7 years.
Wow. Wow. Thank you.
So it's just like super unreal to finally get the chance to exchange face to face.
Yeah. Thank you.
So today is an episode based on creativity, but
Yeah.
using creativity to gain self-awareness and confidence.
Nice.
And sharing each other experiences
Mm-hmm.
about creativity.
Yeah, let's do it.
As I was saying in the intro, we often confuse creativity with artistic talents. What does creativity mean to you? I will say, in the general sense, I'm not even going to talk about right now in the midst of all this craziness we're experiencing as a collective worldwide. And you actually touch upon that in one of your latest video, how to be creative when you're feeling existential. So I will
Yes.
link that video in the description of the episode, and we'll focus on creativity in the general sense.
Man, creativity to me is problem solving. And that's where it's like a resourcefulness. It's creativity is about looking at what you have, like what you have access to, and reworking it and reshaping it to be this new, better thing that helps you. It could help you in your real world, like inventions that
Mm-hmm.
helps us in our real world. It can help you in your internal world of like um, your emotions and getting things out of your brain and onto a canvas or onto some sort of other art form. But at the root of it, creativity is just problem solving and taking the old and making it new.
Yeah. That's funny because to me, I think the same. Like creativity comes super handy when it comes to problem solving. There's nothing like facing a problem and coming up with a creative solution and
Yeah.
actually having the confidence to act on it. So
Yeah.
it's very funny that that was your first answer as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have our own creative process. So what is your creative process when you work on your craft or have a new idea?
So I I talk to myself a lot.
Me too.
Yeah, right? Like I always am talking to myself. So it's a little bit of that. It's like my internal dialogue. It's the way I process information, but it's also I'm a people watcher. I like to notice the way people are behaving, um, how they're acting, what they're saying, how they're saying it, because that kind of tells me a lot about human behavior and
Hmm.
the way we respond to adversity or the way we respond. Even watching someone else receive a compliment can tell you a lot about them in the way they receive the compliment. And so I
That's so
just like,
true.
yeah, so I just like watching people and seeing what they do. And that turns into, that's part of my creative process, and that it's a lot of input before I'm able to output anything.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that you're a storyteller as well? So you look at people and then like
Yeah.
how they're experiencing life in a way, and then you tell the story, or
Yeah, it's being able to create a narrative
mm-hmm.
is is something that it comes naturally in some ways, but it also takes practice in other ways. Um, Being able to notice the build up to something, or anticipation, or any of these feelings that get us from point A to point B. And if it's something that a lot of writers say, like your character has to be active, not passive.
Mm-hmm.
So like they have to make a decision. And in life, humans, I mean, we all are making decisions. And so that's a very important thing to observe in other people.
Interesting. And do you have like a certain setting or I don't know, mood that you have to be in? Because for me, it all comes to self-awareness, that inner compass that shows you when activated what's going on inside, understanding your emotion, experiences, and how you can relate, explore, and express them as well. And I could say that my own creative process is actually to stop, reflect in a state of calm. That's how I mainly do intuitive writing, and just like a flow of ideas just come up. And
Yeah.
I could say that I would recommend to do some introspection, thinking and feeling, as well as setting aside some of thinking time away from the noise and the clutter,
Yeah.
as it is essential to spark someone's creativity. And especially right now, I know I didn't want to talk about right now, but like, but like I think it's I don't know if you could like maybe tell your own experience or if you have any recommendations.
Yeah, I do agree that it's about stillness and calm, and that's why the shower is a great place for ideas. Um, I live in Texas, and a lot of people drive cars. And so driving is another place where, we don't really have good public transportation. So a lot of us are in our cars alone, thinking of things. And because your attention has to be on driving, it's a weird situation of like focus, but your mind can wander at the same time, which is a great environment for ideas to kind of pop in your mind. So similar to showering, you're focused on like actually cleaning your body. Hopefully, I would hope. But your brain is allowed to wander into creative things. What it really is mindfulness. Because when you're showering, the only thing you can do is shower. You can't like be on the computer at the same time. You're not doing anything else at the same time. You're just focused on that. You're just focused on driving. You're just focused on like chopping vegetables if you're cooking. And so it's during those types of activities for me where my best ideas pop into my head.
That's interesting. So it all comes down to mindfulness at the end of the day.
Yes. Yeah. That introspection you were talking about.
Yeah. And you're a creative in the artsy sense of the term. I will put air quotes.
Yeah.
But you also have your own business. You work independently on so many projects, not only your YouTube channel. How do you incorporate creativity in your daily business tasks? Just before you answer, because you talked about problem solving before.
So, yeah. So let me think. Problem solving in the business side. Oh, that's
just creativity.
Yeah. If you've ever worked with a small team that doesn't have the resources or money, what you end up doing is being resourceful and problem solving. So it's like, okay, we don't have money for this item. What can we do that's within the budget that gets the same effect? And that is a type of creativity. It's saying, okay, we don't have this person or this environment, but what can we do with what we have? And keeping it within the parameters of the budget, within what a client wants, what they want. Sometimes they don't be wanting the ideas that you give them. And so you have to kind of course correct and figure out a new way of doing things. Or the most creative thing in business you can do is figuring out how to make someone think it was their idea when really it was your idea.
And how do you do that?
I mean, it depends on the person you're talking to. If you're in a meeting with someone who's maybe older and you can tell like they're just not getting it, or if you're in a meeting with a man or someone who's just like the opposite of whoever you are, you kind of have to let go of your ego and feed them bit by bit little things that help them think it was their idea, when really it's what you've been saying the entire time. And just let them think it's a win on their part, because it really is a win for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So set your ego aside for the project to keep on moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some emotional maturity here.
We're trying. That's what coworkers are for. Coworkers are where you can talk crap, to the side, professional when you enter the boardroom.
That's true. And I remember seeing in one of your video this quote in the background, because I'm this kind of person who looks around, and it was saying create and resist. I think it was, I don't know, like a poster or something like that.
Yeah.
It spoke to me so loudly, because some people feel triggered using the creative side, in a sense that many different fears might come up when taking this leap of faith towards creation. When creating, we resist many inner limiting beliefs and negative self-talk, the fear of being judged, of taking the first step, of losing control, of failure, and so on. How do you find the courage to try out new ideas and make this transition to no longer have them inside your head, but instead making them a reality?
So it's two things. For me, the the top thing is that I don't actually know how to do anything else. So
That's handy.
right. So there's no major plan B. Like this, I've always been, I was just talking to someone about this, and she was like, it seems like you have your lane and like you're staying in your lane. And so yeah, for me it's because I don't have any other lanes. I always say, like, I have no other skills. This is the skill that I have. So I kind of have to stay here. But on the other hand, I found that telling other people whenever I have an idea is a good way to offload some of that doubt and like let someone else tell me whether or not it's a good idea. It's someone you trust, obviously, but let them encourage me, let them tell me it's not a good idea, or even have them check up on me. You know, if you tell someone you're going to make something, and the next time you see them, 3 months have passed, and they're like, so did you ever make that thing? And you're like, oh, you get that
accountability.
feeling. Yeah, that accountability. So that is what's helped me over the years.
Okay. To me, it's usually pretty instinctive. I don't really think about it when I create, I just do it. But it's when I'm at the end of the process, you know, when you're about to put this creation out there to whomever, maybe family, friends, or if you have an audience. And that's when I started to realize what I was doing and freak out and have all of this fear we talked about come up. So it's either I manage to let them slide and push forward, or stop and introspect and realize the blockage.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a little bit different, since the way I use creativity is more into my business and my other outlet, like my
Yeah.
podcast, and not so much as creating artsy stuff in the literal sense. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that it's important for people to introspection, like you said, to really look inward and figure out why you're doing something. If the goal is to complete it, that's a different goal than publishing it. I think a lot of people, especially for artistic work, assume that publishing something or letting other people see it is like the pinnacle of success.
Yeah.
That if no one sees it, then it wasn't worth it. But I actually think that making things for yourself, to understand the process and to see if you like doing it, is more important than striving to publish it and, you know, put it on social media or, you know, show someone. If that's what you want to end up doing, you can work to that. But I feel like so many people skip this process. They skip the process and go straight to the publishing. And so I get a lot of questions that are like, I want to make YouTube videos, but I'm scared. And what they're really saying is, I want to publish YouTube videos and have other people see them, but I'm scared. And so what I always tell them is, have you made a YouTube video yet and not shown anyone? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, how do you know? Like, how do you even know you like making videos? You don't actually know. And so I always think it's important to go through the process and worry about publishing later. Yeah.
And I think that's probably the biggest issue of our generation. We're so used to social media and putting stuff out there and constantly creating, and not necessarily creating, but accomplishing things.
Yeah.
I will say, like, producing more than creating.
Yes.
So we have to always show, okay, I'm doing that and I'm here at life and look at me.
Yes.
This is like, and then as you said, like, skipping the whole process. Do I actually like it? Do I actually enjoy it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's we kind of thinking backwards. And it's important, especially in the creative field, that you can use in any other field, to actually do the whole thinking process from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And it's quite natural to feel very attached and sort of developing a sense of ownership of our creations.
Mm-hmm.
What if people don't like something that you made? Because your audience is huge, like almost 500,000 people, I think, across your social media.
Oh yeah, I guess.
So there
I
has
didn't know.
here you go, you have the number now. So there has to be haters. And how do you mindfully cope and respond to negative feedback? Because honestly, I think is the biggest obstacle which prevent most of us putting our creations out there is to get negative feedback.
Yeah, I don't, percentage wise, I don't get much negative feedback.
Hmm.
Um, and so the important thing though is that in my case, it's comedy. So if it made me laugh, then that's truly all that matters because I'm the one who's going to have to look at it for hours and hours.
Yeah.
At most, someone who watches the end product watches it once. And what is that, like 10 minutes of their life?
Yeah.
And they can like forget about it for the rest of their lives. But for me, it's not just 10 minutes of my life, it's hours and hours, maybe months and months. And so I have to rely on my own, I have to entertain myself because I'm looking at it for so long. And so the way I see it is that being proud of your work comes from an internal place. It doesn't come from an external place. Because if you're proud
Amen.
of something, yeah, if you're proud of something, that's what helps you want to publish it. If you're
Definitely.
not proud of it, why would you have ever put it up? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I have to make myself laugh. I have to entertain myself. It has to seem, it has to feel worth it, like
Mm,
worth my time. And that worth my time happens before I ever upload anything to YouTube.
that's great. You setting your priorities straight. It's very important because it's
Yeah.
so easy to get yourself lost in, as I was saying before, like being so productive and that you lose the essence of it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so kudos to you.
Thank you.
Would you say that creating has made you trade your initial fears in exchange of gaining more confidence and practicing self advocacy? And here I use the term self advocacy, like the quote of the designer David Cayley, who was saying natural creative people should let their ideas fly and achieve self advocacy in a sense that you can do what you set out to do and reach out a place of creative confidence.
Yeah. There is a sense of, what's the word? Is it audacity?
Yeah.
Like it's being so bold that you just assume you can make your idea happen. And sometimes it's delusional, but most of the time, like with help, there's a way. And so that self advocacy is like saying, no, like this is where I'm at, like this is what we're doing. You kind of are able to drive the ship. Do you drive ships? What do you do? You're
Mm,
able to drive the project forward with your own stamina, with your own. I always, whenever like we're in client meetings or in a collaborative project, we have to often remind people that you have to be the most excited about this project because the people you've hired are never going to be as excited as
as
you
you,
are.
yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where that advocacy comes in of saying, this is our mission. I'm hype. This is what I need you to do. And like be able to delegate excitedly, you know? But if you come in, if you're the leader of something and you're like, well, I guess we could do this. No one's gonna wanna no one's gonna
You're
wanna
not
do
convincing
anything.
anyone like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not convincing anybody like that. So that's creativity does give the confidence to take charge
Hmm.
and like kind of gather people around a common mission.
Have you always been like that, or is it the constant creating that got you to that place?
It's the constant creating.
Hmm.
I feel like when I was a kid, there was that initial sense of the audacity of, I'm going to dress up and you're going to sit down and watch me, watch me do this play, right? But after that, I mean, thankfully, I never had, like, my parents never talked down on that.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had parents that thought what I was doing was stupid, I would have maybe pushed that side of me to the back.
Mm-hmm.
But because my mom would like get out her camera and take pictures, I'm like, oh girl, you got the camera, you got the camera out.
You were like, star.
Yeah, so like 5-year-old me was like, oh yeah, we're absolutely doing this. So yeah.
I was actually the same, and my parents were so encouraging. It was the video camera, so we always had. I have 2 siblings, so we would actually have this whole show where everybody would show their abilities, and some would do ballet, other gymnastics, others singing, and we always dress up, and we have all of these family videos now. And this is so funny to look at how you so confident as a kid, being creative and to me, it's very astonishing.
I think it was Spike Lee who said the biggest dream killers are parents, because it's at that like critical age where you think you can do anything and you think anything you do is good. But if you have like one grown up that's like, not really, that really crushes you.
That's true.
So, yeah.
And I will extend it to teachers also.
Oh, yeah. Oh my
Every
gosh.
authority figure, even though your parents are great, like sometimes it's just the outside world that makes it tougher. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Little Evelyn being a star with in your home.
Yeah, good times.
And when you get over your initial fears, getting into the creative process and deliver it beautifully, some amazing rewards have a strong chance of happening. And you, Evelyn, know it better than anyone else, because one of your creation, even though it was years ago now, the extracts of your video review of Beyoncé album Lemonade was used by Queen Bee herself during her worldwide tour.
Yes.
So I have to ask you, what does that make you feel to be seen like that after taking a leap of faith with your imagination? And what does a successful creation looks like to you?
If anything, it really showed me that it can only happen if you were already doing the work. So it's not like anyone asked me to make that video. No one commissioned it, you know.
And by the way, it's hilarious. Like, so funny.
Thank you. It was really like, this is what I'm just showing up consistently. And funny enough, I knew she would see it.
Really?
But I something, again, audacity.
Yeah.
Like I knew that the degrees of separation, realistically, between me and Beyoncé aren't many. Black, Texas, Louisiana. I grew up in both Texas, Louisiana, you know, so like, I feel like on the internet, you know, and so I felt like she would watch it because she gets on the internet, I bet, but I never could have thought that it would be anything past that.
Yeah. And
so it just showed me that, oh, if you just keep doing what you're doing,
everything's going to be all right.
Everything's going to be all right. It'll fall into place, but you have to hold up your end of the bargain by showing up.
And the fact that you had this gut feeling of, oh, I'm sure, or I'm pretty confident that she will see it. Did it add more pressure during this video?
No, it didn't add more pressure because it was a genuine feeling. Like that is what I felt watching it. Maybe if I was like trying to go into some big critique analysis, but I was really just fangirling. And when you fangirl, it's such a pure energy.
It was authentic. Yeah,
stan energy is pure energy. And so yeah, I was never, even though I knew she was gonna watch it, I never was worried about it.
That's amazing. That's some level of confidence. That's inspiring.
Yeah.
People listening, follow Evelyn's example. So, to sum up, to use your creativity as an empowerment tool, what would you say? Because I have my own version, but if you had like to sum up the, not
Mm,
necessarily the process, but different elements.
yeah, creativity as an empowerment tool is trusting that I can always find the answer
Mm-hmm.
to something. And to me, that's very empowering to know that I'm never at a loss permanently. I'm never at a loss for a way forward. There's this book that I haven't read, but I like the title, and it's called Everything is Figure Outable.
Ah, yeah, by Marie Forleo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Haven't read it. Love the title. And I just love that. It feels very like, yeah, that's what creativity is.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Creativity is saying, hi, I'm me. Everything is figure outable.
Hmm.
Even if I don't have money, even if I don't, um, have certain resources, I can figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Do you
Mhm.
have other elements that you would like to share?
It is, I think influences are important.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you, and it's not just in artistic ways, but the things that influence you, like how you grew up and the types of people you came into contact with, that shapes a lot of your input.
Mm-hmm.
And because it shapes your input, it affects your output. So if we're even talking about like diversity, someone who grew up as like the only Black kid in their town is, oh, that was you.
That was me.
Yeah, you're going to have a very different perspective than someone who had Black principals, Black teachers, Black, you know what I'm saying, everybody Black.
Yeah.
It's going to be different. It's going to feel different in your references, in the jokes you make, in the things that cause you pain, the things that give you joy. It's going to impact all of that. So that's another way that um, creativity can be empowering, because um, it's saying that wherever you came from is enough to make something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I think the issue a lot of people are encountering is the feeling of not being enough or
Mm-hmm.
feeling not good enough.
Yeah.
So that's a good
Yeah.
reminder.
Yeah.
Wow. If I had to summarize or sum up, I will say like the different thing that I said before, like find some calm, conquer your own
Mm-hmm.
fears, free thinking also,
Mm.
not being thinking outside the box and being okay with it and not being kind of stuck in a
Yeah.
structure. Self-awareness, slow down, let the idea comes out without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And something that you kind of say, I think, is holding your end of the bargain. I would say repetition is key. Like
Yes.
anything in life, the more you practice, the better you get at it. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's hard also, especially when you own your own business. You have to motivate
Mm-hmm.
yourself by yourself. You don't necessarily
Yes.
have colleagues, so it's a different kind of setting. And
Yeah.
finally, love and enjoy the process too, because it's not only about the end goal. But
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Do you agree with all of these?
Oh, for sure. It's important to have like a foundation, because
Hmm.
everything you were talking about really is a foundation for creating the perfect environment for like good things to come your way. Because yeah, you're right. It is holding up your end of the bargain and repetition, and taking that time out for yourself. Self-care is also really important,
Definitely.
um, especially in comedy. I don't know if it's a myth or it's like the trope of the sad comedian. It's like this person that makes the world laugh is actually quite depressed.
Yeah. There's
um,
so many stories like that, actually.
yeah, yeah. And so I think that's why self-care is super important. And community care, caring for each other is also very important.
And how do you community care right now when we all, because for example, where I'm based, we
Hmm.
under lockdown, complete lockdown. We're not allowed to
I
go out. We
Wow,
just go out for our
that's
groceries.
that's beautiful. What is that like to have a responsible plan of action? I
Yeah.
don't.
You're not experiencing the same, I guess.
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh,
Yeah, right. Community care right now looks like, honestly, not, how do I want to say it? Community care looks like giving each other a break. And what that means is like, in the US, it's very workaholic. It is
yeah.
so workaholic. And so people also treat customer service, people who work in customer service, so badly. And I'm like, in a pandemic, if you have the means to tip someone, tip generously. Give someone a break so that maybe that tip can cover their necks. Like they don't have to like hustle for like 30 more minutes. Just like give them 30 minutes worth
Yeah.
of a break. Community care looks like um, not asking people to achieve anything. 2020, we're not achieving anything.
No, we're not. But we should be fine with it. It's not the year to ask at the end of the year. So
Yeah,
what did you achieve in 2020? No, not this
no,
year.
not
Next
at
year
all.
maybe.
Right, like it's not the time. And I think doing that is a form of community care, especially parents. I can't imagine having a child or multiple children and figuring out, do they go to school, do they not go to school, what if they get sick, can I go to work, do I quit my job and stay home, what if I don't have a spouse, what if it's just so much.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
if we gave people a break and said, hey, I know you're going through a rough time, like get back to me whenever you can, I'm literally not
No
pressed.
pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. That's a form of community care.
But hopefully we'll be done with that. In I'm not even gonna make any
Right.
pronostic. Yeah, we'll see. we
Y'all will be done before us. I know that. So
I'm not sure though, because even though
really?
we under lockdown, like people don't necessarily follow the rules. So
Wow.
you still have people out there doing
Wow.
whatever what. But we'll
Wow.
see. We we stay optimistic as much as possible. As a brand strategist, I have to ask you how creativity influences the way you brand yourself or just your business.
I definitely have thought of, I saw on the internet somewhere from some brand person that you need to think of like the top 3 words, that come to mind when someone is supposed to think of you.
Yeah.
And that really helped me understand that, okay, I want everything I do to have a level of silliness, like we're over here having fun, we're being silly, but also a level of thoughtfulness,
Mm-hmm.
meaning like being silly doesn't mean that you are careless. It means like you're choosing fun, but you're still intelligent, you're still mindful of other people, you're aware. Um, and then comedy. I want people to think like, oh, this is going to be like a fun time. And so those 3 concepts helped me shape my brand, and whether that's like my website or the colors that I use, sometimes the clothes that I wear, but really I just wear sweats. I wear various versions of sweats.
You wear colorful shirts too, which I
I wear.
appreciate because not a
Yeah.
lot of people wear colors.
Yeah, so I like colors, and hopefully that gives people a sense of like, oh, we're not going to be in school. I don't know if you've ever watched the Magic School Bus.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah, so
God, that was
I'm
so long ago.
right. I'm trying to be like a Miss Frizzle.
Okay.
Now that I'm older, I'm trying to be like a Miss Frizzle.
I can't remember who's Miss Frizzle. How is
She
she?
was the teacher, and she wore these ridiculous clothes that were like super bright and had like planets on them. And so like that's what I'm trying to be.
I think you're doing good.
Thanks.
And if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm all about conscious living.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to help yourself be more conscious and mindful of the way you interact in this world?
Yeah, so I started going to therapy like a year ago, a
Good.
little over a year ago, and that helped me. Because what I learned is that I have a lot of feelings. Obviously, I'm a person,
Hmm.
but I don't actually like sharing them with anybody. I'd rather turn them into art, you know. But you can't, right? You can't do art every day. Sometimes you just need
Yeah.
to have a conversation with somebody
Yeah.
and like get something off your chest. And so, um, being conscious of that meant being more in tune with my body. So like, what does it feel like to be nervous? Can I feel like my throat getting scratchy? Can I, like, what does that mean? Or do I feel my heart beating really hard? What does that mean? Because I learned a lot of the times your body will react before your brain can figure out why.
Yes.
And so if you have an interaction with someone and your body is like doing stuff and you're like, whoa, body, like what's going on? And really, I really have to slow down and say it like that. Like, what's up? I noticed that your heart is beating fast. What
Way
does
too
that
fast.
mean?
Yeah.
Way too fast. Yeah. So yeah, that's what being conscious has helped me do.
And does it help you navigate your way in this world as well? Not necessarily you
Mhm.
with yourself and your feelings, but I would say your approach to others as well.
Oh yeah. Before being conscious or working towards being more conscious of myself and like people's feelings, I I never, I didn't really put myself in other people's shoes.
Okay.
If someone would come to me with a problem, I would be like, well, like, what's the problem? What's the issue? But now I'm like, oh, even though they might be being mean, behind that meanness is maybe hurt feelings, is maybe frustration or confusion or insecurity. A lot of times it's insecurity. And so being able to move through the world as someone who can notice the underlying things behind what people do, um, has been really helpful. And I think my previous work experience in social media management really helped me, because social media management is like half customer service,
Yeah,
because where do
definitely.
people go to complain? The
For sure.
internet.
Yeah.
And so I was able to learn that someone like cussing out a company on Twitter, I was able to see like, okay, is there an underlying thing? What kind of energy do I come to this interaction with? Instead of being like, you need to calm down, you can't say
Yeah.
you need to calm down. You say, hey, I understand you're frustrated, let me help you figure out the answer. And usually people are like, oh, thanks.
And usually they will react positively because they're not used for
Yeah,
having people show compassion
yeah,
to
yeah.
them. So yeah,
Hmm.
most of the time they react crazy at first and then
Yeah.
they calm down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same with me. I managed like throughout the years having more compassion because I understand everybody's coming from a different experience, different story. And as
Hmm.
you said, it's always like this underlying feeling. It's not because they being mean to you. It
Yeah.
helps like not taking things so personally
Yeah.
and having like this kind of perspective
Mhm.
on things and situation and people.
Yeah, and
Uh,
also acknowledging that it takes a lot of courage to actually tell someone you're mad at them, instead of just like bottle it up and be
yeah.
passive aggressive. So now if someone's like, "Oh, you made me mad," I'm like, "Dang, thanks for seeing me as someone you can tell that to."
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. And can we talk a little bit about the guided meditation you created for stressed out girls with Lauren
Yes.
Ash from one of my favorite
Yes.
podcasts, Black
Hmm.
Girls in Om, and the talented musician Musina. I don't know if I
Yeah.
pronounce
You
it
did.
properly.
Hmm.
Okay, awesome. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so it was part of YouTube's Creators for Change. No, actually, it wasn't. It kind of was. So Michelle Obama was doing a documentary about girls' education. And she was like traveling around the world, I think like somewhere in Asia, somewhere in Africa, probably somewhere in America, to like see the barriers to girls' education around the world.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
yeah, and so YouTube asked some of us to make our own project about what we feel is the biggest barrier to girls' education in our country or in our specific community. And so, you know, you look around the world and you see problems of like not having access to menstrual products, things like not even being allowed to go to school if you're a girl in
Yeah.
some places. And so I was like, man, what is it in the US? Like what is the struggle? And then I really thought about the things that impact schools here that don't seem to be impacting other places. And I thought about like school shootings. I thought about police violence. These are all very like American things.
Yeah,
To say that a
exactly.
school shooting is an American thing, it is like I have family around the world that's like, what is going on in the
Yeah.
United
Every
States?
time we see that on the news, it's super
Yeah,
shocking. Like, how can you have guns in school?
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I thought about, wow, how stressful must it be to be a girl and be specifically a Black girl and to have your tone policed. Everyone thinks you got an attitude. Everyone thinks that, you know, you're about to break the rules somehow. And so as I dove, as I went into the research and the the records of all of that, I found that a lot of people have been talking about this subject for like years and years. And so I felt that in our project, we could talk about that, but also offer up a solution, not to the external, which is abolishing police, especially in schools. Like, why are
Mhm.
police in a school?
Yeah.
So that's kind of external. The adults, we have to handle that. But like, what can we do for children, especially like teenagers, to help them take control of their own life in a time and in an environment where they don't feel like they have control over everything? You know, you still have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom, but then people want to say you have attitude, and it's like, am I my own person or not? Like, which one is it?
Yeah.
And so we thought that uh, a guided meditation would be the best. You know, tell teenage girls that they can give themselves some self-care. They can say, skirt, like, I'm not worried about what you're saying right now. Let me take this, 10 minutes.
Pause. Yeah.
Let me pause. Let me tell myself how important I am and how valuable I am, even when my teacher is acting a fool, even when there's cops in my school. So that's where it really came from. And so I collaborated with Lauren Ash on that, and Messina did the original music,
Hmm.
and it was really fun to work on that with them.
Yeah, and congratulations, girls, because I think it's a beautiful, not only meditation, but also targeting these kids who are in between childhood and
Yeah.
adulthood, not knowing
Mm-hmm.
really, like, first of all, is a kind of a hard period to know who you are, and
Yeah.
also dealing with everything you stated before. So they
Mm-hmm.
have kind of a tangible tool to find this inner peace now and then,
Yes. Yeah.
because the world is a little bit of a chaos. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your short film
Oh, yeah.
that got a beautiful award
Mm-hmm.
and very funny, very creative, very original, a little bit out there? And
Yes.
yeah, so
Yeah. So, Hello Tim is the name of my short film, and it's actually 1 year old this month. Well, October.
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And I premiered it at Bufferfest in Toronto, Canada, and uh, I was invited to screen something. They contacted me and they were like, "Hey, we would love for you to screen something." And the way they work is that it has to premiere there.
Okay.
Um, and so I was like, oh, so I have to make something. Okay. Um, and so I had the idea for the film in my head for a very long time, maybe years. I didn't have it written or anything until August of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then it premiered in October. So Hello Tim is it's a mockumentary, so it's satirical, and it's about a girl's relationship with the government agent she thinks is always watching her through her webcam or various technological devices. And so it's really it's a chaotic scenario, but it was really inspired by memes. And there's all these memes that are like, to the FBI agent in my phone, mind your business. And so we're in a culture where we've all kind of recognized that we have given up a sense of privacy. Like, we're not actually completely private individuals anymore.
Oh, not at all.
Not at all. So we've acknowledged that we have either given up our privacy willingly or someone has taken our privacy. And so I thought, what if I put all of those feelings in one character and had them kind of fly off the rails? and what would that look like? And so that's how we made Hello Tim, and my brother shot it and edited it
beautifully.
And yes, he's really great. And
he's talented.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, even down to the music, like he chose like the classical music of like the violins, and so it's like kind of scary but kind of ridiculous.
It is.
And so it's that weird fine line of like, this is your friend, like you're watching your friend be like ridiculous. There's even a part in the movie film where she is trying to FaceTime her friend, and the friend hangs up on her. Like, girl, what are you? You're being in a documentary about this. Like, you're actually a little woo-woo. So, yeah, it was a fun experience.
Are you the type of person who puts post-it on the webcam?
Yeah, I actually have an actual webcam cover.
Wow. So, okay.
I can slide. And it just like slides over.
A little demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about PBS or not at all? Because I don't know where you at with this.
Yeah, we're still waiting for season 2. So I don't really have much to say other than when they're ready, I'm ready. So maybe in 2021, the show will come back. But I had fun creating it. It was very difficult to write. And so I do know that when we go into season 2, I would love someone else to write it, and I just stand there and say words.
Can you summarize it quickly for people who don't know it?
Yeah. So Say It Loud is a web series on YouTube and on PBS.com. It's through PBS Digital Studios, which is like the internet little sister of PBS, the channel on television. And so they have lots of shows online, mostly about science and STEM, things in that. Lots of stuff about dinosaurs in space. But when it comes to the humanities or things that are not as scientific, it's our culture, it's the changing societies over time. They wanted to have a show that was about Black history, Black culture, and the many different histories and many different cultures, especially in the United States. So that's what the show is about. And we have skits and funny bits, but we also have lots of education and interviews. And we've talked about anything from the origin of names, Black sounding names, quote unquote Black sounding, anywhere from that to ancestry DNA tests and what are the pros and cons of those sorts of things. So it's a fun time.
It's really fun. And I am glad that you pointed out that it's not a regular documentary and that you actually add skits and very funny things, especially with the names episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's funny, we don't have the same names over here, so it was like hilarious, like just just to watch that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope you're gonna have a second season.
I hope so too.
Maybe in 2021.
Yeah, that's the hope. Fingers crossed.
Where can we find you?
You can find me on youtube.com/Evelyn from the Internet, plural. And then you can also find me on Instagram at Evelyn from the Internet. I have other social media. I don't use it though. So it's just YouTube and Instagram at this point.
And she's very responsive on Instagram.
I try to be.
You are, compared to many. You are. I tested it myself. I'm a living proof. Thank you so much for sharing your input on creativity and your own experience. Any other words to close up the episode?
Be nice to yourselves. 2020 is ridiculous. So,
it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But a good also year to learn a lot of things. I think it was a lot of lessons learned.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
Thank you to have taken the time to listen to me and my guest talking about conscious living. Conscious Matters is a self-produced podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and or donate. 5 stars always preferred. Your support will help to keep on raising the collective consciousness together. Talk to you soon.